Hi, I'm Paul. This video, I think, is going to be, or in my opinion, it's going to be quite a special video. The reason why is I'm going to talk about what I think my deepest insight has been. And I also do wonder if it's possibly the deepest insight that you can have on this journey. So probably going to take me a little bit to get into it. So what I'm really going to talk about is the root of all suffering. See, I thought I knew it before, but I think that it goes a lot deeper than what I thought it was. So the root of all suffering, the root of all the fear, the root cause and why we appear to be trapped in a cage in our minds. So I believed originally that the root cause was the ego. And for anybody who's unsure of what the ego is, it's the attachment to thought. So let's say it's the thought maker. It's the thing that creates the illusion, the thing that you focus on the most, which is your thoughts, your predictions of tomorrow, and your equations, your ideas, your everything, and you focus on these thoughts. We could even say that everything that we see here we turn into thoughts and then focus on the thoughts themselves. So we don't particularly see reality itself, but more of a shadow of reality through creating the illusion through our thoughts. So I thought that the root of all suffering was the ego. But I think it goes much deeper. So we all know about this unconscious mind. Only we seem to believe that this unconscious mind is part of the functioning of the mind or the brain or the body, in the same way that the engine or the fuel tank of a car is part of the car. But I think the unconscious mind is more like a song being played on the car stereo. It's not a thing. Imagine that everything that you've seen and heard and experienced in life, you processed, you accepted, all traumas, everything. You accepted and processed it all. Therefore, it wouldn't be hidden in the unconscious mind. So you wouldn't need to store it in the unconscious because it would always be conscious. So in other words, what I'm saying is I think the unconscious mind was created, and it's not really a thing, it's more just blocking out things. I mean, it goes deeper on what you're blocking out, but just staying with the blocking out things. So it seems that we put things in our unconscious. Now, this isn't exactly putting it in it. This is more like running away from it. Only to run away from it, this is where the ego comes in to create security. It keeps us seeking, keeps us moving, keeps us looking, keeps us chasing, wanting the next thing to fix onto so that we can't see our past. I think this is where pleasure and fear come from. Happiness, maybe, as well. So imagine you've got an unconscious. This holds all horrible thoughts, horrible ideas, horrible past experiences, and so on, and you don't want to see it because these all create sorrow. So then anything that takes your complete attention and sends it into somewhere in the future, which is where the ego grabs onto ideas and starts playing with ideas, and you're focusing on the thoughts, gives you happiness and pleasure, which is really just a distraction from sorrow. And if we look at anger, why is it we get angry? We're running away from our unconscious, or the terror, the sorrow in our unconscious. And then something that somebody says or does makes us look at it. And then instantly the mind says, we need to get away from this. You need to act right now very quickly. And then it acts with anger, trying to end the ability to see in. So when in anger, there's no division. There's no ego. The ego's fallen away. It's not functioning anymore. It's not distracting you from the unconscious, which creates panic and fear and sorrow, and then creates the anger. So what I'm saying with this unconscious mind is, I don't think it's an actual thing, but more just something we're running away from. But here's kind of where it goes a little bit deeper. Because we probably assume that the unconscious mind is holding the things we don't want to see about ourselves. Things I did, bad thoughts I had, things I did to other people, bullying people, or whatever else past experiences that I had. We generally think that is the unconscious, but it goes further, because I don't think that it's just about the self. I think it's much more expanded. We could say the old man next door who had his window put through would be something we want to run away from, or the house which was set on fire by yous in the next town, and then we could go on to wars, the people we've killed, thousands and thousands of people, and we could say about the land that we've taken away from all the animals in nature and built buildings, of creating bombs, all the destruction that man has created, humans, or the destruction of nature. I think that this is what we're running away from, the deep sorrow that we didn't do anything. We allowed all of us to create the horrors that mankind has created. So I think this is what we're running away from. So we can say that this is the fear. I'll go back into fear shortly. But when we talk about all this of what mankind has done, World War One and World War Two, and God knows how many wars and destructions and stuff, how is it that we come about all that in our mind? Now I know it's passed down in generations as such. It's shaped our brains into the way that they are now, but how is it most obvious that we're seeing all the destruction that we've caused? Is it not the news? Things that we see on telly, telling us about all the hell that's going on in the earth, which is creating, no, not creating, it's filling up the unconscious mind with even more stuff which we don't want to face, which then we need to keep running and seeking even more, which means that the ego is getting bigger and bigger because it's trying to run even harder away from the unconscious stuff which it doesn't want to see. going on to the fear. And the question is the fear what's happening in the world? The fear that we feel, the psychological fear that we feel, is it the fear of what's going on in the world? I don't think it is. I think the root of the fear, the psychological fear, is the fear of making the unknown known. I think the psychological fear is that. The fear of seeing ourselves. And I think that's why we're caged in our mind. And I think because of this is why we seem to be so vulnerable to conditioning. I mean, let's face it, the smallest little bit of excitement that something happens, we go chasing it. We chase spirituality, religion, anything that'll take us away, give us something to put our minds into to keep on thinking, whilst all the time our own self is caged. Anyway, I think that's all I've got to say. Thanks very much for listening.